Hey, the Jazz Doctor here. Right now is the best time for you to make a pledge and support our students in the Student Learning Lab during our fall membership drive here at 91.1 WHFC. Support us with what you can at WHFC911.org. And thanks.
Hey everyone, it's Rich Bennett. Can you believe it? The show is turning 10 this year. I am so grateful for each and every one of you who've tuned in, shared an episode, or even joined the conversation over the years. You're the reason that this podcast has grown into what it is today. Together, we've shared laughs, tears, and moments that truly matter. So I want to thank you for being part of this journey. Let's make the next 10 years even better.
Coming to you from the Freedom Federal Credit Union Studios, Harford County Living presents Conversations with Rich Bennett.
Slow pitch
It's probably the least sexy part of the work, and I don't It's okay. No. The truth is,
what happens when a descendant of a medieval queen and a legendary knight stumbles upon their hidden story and then brings it roaring back to life? Today's guest, D.H. Morris, is more than a writer. She's a historian at heart, a world traveler, a playwright, and a geological detective. From San Diego to Kansas City, and from the theater stage to the pages of history, Deborah has lived on 4 continents, raised 4 children, and you're not going to believe this, is now a proud grandmother of 11. But it was while tracing her family roots that she uncovered the gripping true story of Princess Judith of Francia and Baldwin Iron Arm, a story that defied kings, broke societal norms, and helped shape European history. Her novel, The Girl of Many Crowns, is more than historical fiction. It's a vivid tapestry of love, power, rebellion, and courage, all painstakingly researched and brought to life with the heart of a storyteller and the mind of a scholar. So if you're fascinated by stories that connect the past to the present, stories that teach, inspire, and challenge, you'll want to hear how Deborah Morris, D.H. Morris, is making history personal and, above all else, unforgettable. How you doing, Deborah?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Rich.
Oh, my pleasure. I love talking to people that are history buffs because I just love learning. And the first time I had an author on that wrote a historical fiction, which I didn't realize historical fiction was a thing. I thought it was either history or fiction. But she made a good point and said that because a lot of the stuff she wrote, it was a book about her great, I forget how many greats grandmother, who was a Cherokee Indian. But she said because a lot of this stuff wasn't documented, it could not be labeled as a true history book, which made it historical fiction. It's like, well, I'm learning a lot more from these historical fiction books, and I enjoy reading them better. So, before we get into the book, what actually made you start writing historical fiction?
Well, actually, when I discovered the story of Judith and Baldwin Iron Arm, I initially thought it was a mistake on my genealogy chart, which I had inherited from my aunt. And she kind of was hoping that I would become the new genealogist for the new generation.
Okay.
But I saw Judith's name appearing 3 times in my family. And I thought either everybody who had a daughter born that year named her Judith, or there's something wrong. So I started researching it to see if this was the same person. And it was the same person.
Oh, wow.
And so I was fascinated by her story. And the more I researched, the more I wanted my daughters and my granddaughters to know of her courage. And then during COVID, actually, I kind of related it orally.
Okay.
I had a lot of research assembled, but during COVID, she just kept nagging at me. I think she wanted her story told.
Yeah.
And so I finished doing the research. My husband dug out all this old research and said, you still have some of this. So I started from there, and I just finished the research, and it was actually about 25% larger than the book is now, because I wrote it more like a history book.
Okay.
And I had footnotes in there and 3 pages of annotations from other sources.
Mm-hmm.
And then I originally approached a traditional publisher.
Right.
And they said, the first thing they want to know is 2 or 3 books that this book is like, that has been published within the last year or two.
In the last year or two?
Yes. They want to publish things that have been very popular within the last year or two. But
wow,
I could not think of another book within the last year or two that was like this book. And they said, well, too many characters, too involved, very complex, and it's not what we're looking for right now. So I put it on the shelf. And then after a couple of years, I just thought, if I want somebody to read this, I need to make it sound more like a novel and take out every bit of fact that is not necessary for the reader to know, to understand the journey that Judith and Baldwin go on.
And I guess also with that, you could even do a sequel, right?
If I had, the problem is this book is based on fact.
Right.
And once women stopped doing things that were outrageous, the chroniclers stopped writing about them.
Oh.
So we do know that Judith's son, Judith and Baldwin's son, Baldwin II, married Alfred's daughter. Alfred, the one who was her stepson, Alfred the Great. We know that. We know that they had established trade between Wessex and between Flanders.
Wow.
But we don't have a lot of detail about events that happened. We know she lost her first child. He passed away. She had named him after her father, Charles. So at the end of the book, you'll see an afterword, and it goes into each of the characters and tries to flesh out their journey for you of what happened to them after the book ends.
How long did the research take for this?
It probably took, the research probably during COVID took a year to flesh out all the research.
Wow.
I love doing research.
That's pretty fast. That's pretty good, especially going that far back.
Yes. I was surprised, though, at how many records there were.
Really?
There are a lot of records. Unfortunately, most are in Latin, but a lot of them have been translated into German, which I speak, or English. And so the English scholars, the medieval English scholars in England, have done a remarkable job of chronicling everything about Judith's father, Charles the Bald. So every law that I have passed, every place that they went, I got directly from the annals or from the research that was done by medieval scholars.
And you were able to find that online? Well, I guess you had to, because it was during COVID.
A lot of it you can find online, but then I had some of the research I had to I could find the name of a book online. And I wanted that book before I went any further in the writing, because it would fill in an important gap. And so I would have to get it through, and usually they're out of print. A few I could order off Amazon, but some of them I would order through interlibrary loan. And then you wait for, because they're in some specialty collection in some university, and they'll send it to you, and then you can read it. You talked about a sequel. I am in the process of writing a prequel based on Judith's grandmother. She was named for her grandmother, Judith, who was the empress, daughter-in-law of Charlemagne.
Really?
So her husband, Louis the Pious, Judith was his second wife.
Wow.
And it's a very interesting story because it starts out almost like a Cinderella story.
Yeah.
Whereas she's the second wife, he's a widower, he's moping, his courtiers insist that he marry again. So they have a bride show, and they send out through all the empire, the Holy Roman Empire, and they have all the nobles with eligible daughters bring them to Aachen or Aix-la-Chapelle, which was his headquarters and his main palace. And they did a bride show, and Judith was chosen for her beauty, her intellect, and her musical ability, they said. And so everything is fine until, well, she has 3 stepsons, grown stepsons from Louis the Pious's first marriage. And everything's fine until she has a baby. They're afraid it's going to be a boy, and this is going to interfere with what they're going to get.
Oh.
They're part of the kingdom. But it's a girl. And then she has another child, and it is a boy, and it starts a civil war. And it's a rather touch and go situation for her to protect her son Charles and battle for him to receive part of the kingdom as his inheritance. And so that Charles is the father of the Judith in The Girl of Many Crowns.
Wow. All right. So with Judith, the Girl of Many Crowns, that one.
Yeah.
How did she come about meeting Baldwin Iron Arm? And 2-part question. The name Baldwin Iron Arm, how did he get that? I love it.
Well, we know that his name was Baldwin.
Right.
And the Iron Arm, there's not always an agreement from historians as to when it was attached to him. Some say it was attached at a very young age because he was such a valiant warrior from the very beginning, just had a natural gift for it. And others say, well, it was attached later, but we don't know when. So I had to pick one. And that's what the historical fiction author does, is they take the true events, hopefully, depending on how faithful they want to be to history, and they fill in the gaps or make choices from the various historians, because historians don't always agree on everything. So I have him, and we do know that he was the companion of Judith's younger brother, Louis the Stammerer.
Oh.
And so I start the book with Baldwin coming to the court to serve King Charles, and he is placed in a position of companion and mentor to Louis the Stammerer, who's only 9 years old at the time, but is about to be made king of Neustria.
Wow.
And the province of Neustria within King Charles's realm.
Right.
And he was very shy and had the stammer, and his father wasn't pleased with that. His father was always disappointed with Louis because he didn't match up to what, his ideals were. And so since Baldwin was his companion, I just start off the book with him as being his companion. And this is how Judith and Baldwin meet. And of course, they have a little bit of a rocky start, but they become friends. But then she is at 12. As soon as she turns 12, she's married off to the widower, the aging widower, King Athelwulf of Wessex.
Ah, yes. Yeah.
And she becomes the first consecrated queen by the church.
She was only 12?
She was only 12. But
Wow.
they had to be 12 to be married. And she then, after a year and a half, she becomes widowed herself. And she enters a second marriage, this time with Athelwulf's oldest living son, who is 24, and she's 13, 14.
Wow.
We don't know exactly what happened in that marriage, but whatever it was something that gave her a spine, and she came back to Francia and put her foot down and said, I'm not marrying again, which was unheard of,
right.
Which is why she gets written about by the chroniclers.
Wow.
And so I fill in the gaps as best I can with all the events that were going on, the wars that happened, the assassinations that happened, the plots that happened.
And there were a lot back then too.
A lot of politics.
Yes.
And a lot of Vikings.
That it's funny because when you mentioned that, and I just a couple months ago I finished. I don't know if you saw it, but on the History Channel they had the show Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
So I finished watching that, and now I'm watching The Last Kingdom. Have you seen? Which describes a lot what you're talking about, but it just sucks you right in.
Yeah.
And oh man, when's yours going to become a show?
I actually had one of my readers. She was so sweet. She said to me, I want this book to become a movie that I can show over and over again to my daughters and granddaughters. But the interesting thing is, so you would think that it's only about Judith. I started from that perspective because I related to her.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because when my husband and my son read the manuscript, they said, this is not really Judith's story. This is Baldwin's story. Well, it starts with Baldwin.
Yeah.
And we follow his path and Judith's path in parallel because they're very different. She's shipped off to England and he is staying as companion and following wherever her younger brother Louis goes and protecting him and mentoring him and becoming a count in his own right and partaking in the wars and the Viking encounters and all of that. And so we get to see both sides, what's going on. And then when she comes back and her father says, well, if you're not going to marry again, then I'm going to imprison you in this castle until you do agree to marry again. And she's fine. I'm not going to do it. So we see through all of her adversity.
Yeah.
She grows into a woman from being a pawn of several kings to becoming a woman in her own right who is not willing to compromise on her standards and who finds strength in her faith.
Yes.
And faith was a huge thing back then.
Oh, yeah.
I was not raised Catholic, so I had to do research on not just what the Catholic, celebrations and mass were, but what they were in the 9th century, because they have changed over time.
Yeah.
And so I was able to find actual accounts of like an Easter celebration in Francia in the early part of the 9th century, including the songs, including the procession, everything. And I just thought, this is fantastic. It's going in the book. So if I found riddles that were from the 9th century, they went in the book. If I found songs from the 9th century, I found a way to use them in the book. So,
Deborah, you know what you need for this? You somehow or another, if you could put together a soundtrack of the music from back then, and
I wish I knew the music, the tunes that went to the song.
Yeah, I mean, I'm the type to where when I'm reading a book, I love to listen to, of course, mainly instrumental music in the background. But when there's music that can actually go along with the book, it just adds to it even more. And books like this, I love historical fiction. And something like this, like I said, especially because of the shows I'm watching, it sucks you in. And I guarantee everybody that reads this book, they're going to be like, okay, when's the movie or the TV show coming out? Because it's it's that good. Actually, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Okay, so I'm not saying if, when it does become a TV show or a movie, who would play Judith and who would play Baldwin? Who would you like to see play them?
I don't know. I'm old enough to remember
the good actors like me. I mean, not that I don't mean I'm a good actor. I mean, I remember the good actors.
Yes. And I'm old enough to remember that when they made a version of Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, they had an actual search for who would play Romeo and Juliet. And they discovered fresh faces. But I tell you, who I see as Athelwolf is, now you asked me. And
the name went out of your head? It doesn't. Hey, don't worry. Mel Gibson. Yep.
Mel Gibson. He would be a perfect Athelwolf.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Judith would be a hard one to figure out. I think
it might have to be a fresh face.
Yeah.
And maybe a French girl with a French accent.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, that would make sense to me.
Yeah.
I've got to share something with you. If you're in Maryland and thinking about real estate, you've got to check out Daniel McGee and the Victory Team. A close friend of mine sold their house with them, and honestly, I was blown away by the smoothness of the process and the level of care they received. And it's not just them. Several others in my circle have had similar experiences. Daniel and his team have this personal touch that's just so rare these days. They actually listen and tailor their services to fit exactly what you need. And with fees way lower than the industry standard, you really feel like you're getting luxury service without that hefty price tag. So whether you're buying or selling, go to victoryteamsells.com and get started with Daniel McGee and his incredible team. Believe me, with them, it's not just a transaction, it's a relationship. Right. So when you were writing this, especially with the research part, what was it that really shocked you, that you had no idea about? The biggest thing that shocked you, and you're like, it just threw you back.
That's a difficult one, because
there's a lot, right?
There was a lot. And I had no idea what the 9th century was like. And I thought, I can't start writing this till I know. So everything surprised me. And I actually took something called the Annals of St. Burton, which were the annals kept by the monks during the 9th century in the Abbey of St. Burton, which was part of King Charles's realm. And I followed 7 years in those annals. Wow. And I used the annals year by year as the outline for what I was going to write about next. And I purposefully, in some ways, decided not to really delve into the next year until I fully fleshed out the year that was before me. And so then I would go to my husband and I'd say, you wouldn't believe what happened in this next year. You're not going to believe it. So-and-so was assassinated. And he was assassinated by this person. And then, it was a constant delight and a constant set of revelations and surprises. And I loved it. I could not believe how much went on at that time.
Yeah. And now, is this your first book?
This is my first novel. It's my debut novel.
Okay. And when was it released?
It was released last fall.
And you have, and technically, because the publishing company is your publishing company, right?
It's one that my husband and I started.
Okay. So I have to ask you this, and those of you that are listening that are inspiring authors, go to newclassicpublishing.com, because Deborah's got something on there which I think every author should do. Explain the trailer to us, because I think that's very important for authors to do.
Say that again.
The trailer.
Oh, the trailer. Yes. I had a trailer made of The Girl of Many Crowns, just kind of with your elevator pitch type thing, trying to give a very short summary. It's also on YouTube. If you look up The Girl of Many Crowns, you can see that. And I found that it's fun to see it come alive.
Yes.
And it captured it very well. It was not very expensive to create, believe it or not. I thought it looked amazing, but I found someone on a website called Fiverr.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Fiverr. They're people who do gigs in publishing, in all printing, and all kinds of areas, and someone who does trailers like that. And she was phenomenal. I worked with her, and she asked me what it should look like, what the characters look like, and she pretty much came up with a beautiful product, I think.
I think they're important. They definitely sell the book, I believe. And with the way AI is today, it's very easy for people to create a trailer. Should be, but all right. So I'm going to put you on the spot again. What was your favorite part of the book?
I think the chapter where Judith and Baldwin get together finally and arrange for her escape from the palace. I love that one.
Right. How long did it actually take you to write just that part alone?
That's a good question. Probably a week.
Really? And how many battle scenes did you write about?
They're just maybe 3 or 4 real battle scenes. There are assemblies where they're talking, preparing for battle and going into battle. There's areas where they have a war council. We've been attacked. Now what do we do? But the actual battle scenes, just a few. And another surprising thing that I found was I had no idea that Athelwulf, his son, had tried to take his kingdom from him. And
Wow.
and had divided. They had actually had a big council called a Witenagemot. And the council could either choose to have Athelwulf remain king or his son Athelbald become the new king. And that's very, very dramatic.
Yeah.
When they stand before the council and make their arguments.
Okay, so when you, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you said earlier when you first wrote this, the manuscript, you wrote it as a history book, right?
Yeah.
And
more as a history than as a...
And then you decided to convert it over to a novel, which means you're throwing in the
dialogue,
yes,
and the thoughts.
How hard, and with especially if this being your first novel, how hard was that to do?
I found that it was not as difficult as I feared.
Okay.
I don't know if it's because of my theater background, but I am used to getting inside a character and walking around in their shoes and trying to think about their motivations. And why am I doing this? Okay, this is what I did. Why would I do that?
Right.
And so I tried to approach the book that way from every single character. So if I was writing from the point of view of Hincmar, who is the Archbishop of Reims, who is the main counselor for King Charles, I was trying to think, why would he do that? Why would he write that? Why would he say that? And I tried to take on that character without judging him, but being that character, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because sometimes if we project our own feelings onto a character, then of course they're the bad guy. No, in that person's mind, it makes perfect sense what they did. And yes, it may be bad, but why were they doing that? What were they thinking? And so that's important to me, that the characters were true to themselves. And I think it helps the history come alive as well.
Oh, absolutely. Now, did you take any writing courses or anything before you sat down and write this?
I did. I would say take all my courses, I guess you would say, in getting a master's for English, but some of them were writing, some were literature. I've always loved books. I've always been an avid reader. So I think that
helps. Which is good. It helps a lot. It helps. I was getting ready to say something else, but I ain't going to say that. It helps a lot. Yeah. All right. So with the book, and you did something else that a lot of authors don't do. And if they go through a traditional publishing company, they got to wait at least a year for some reason. It's in audiobook form, correct?
Yes.
And who did the audio?
I did the audio.
You did all of it?
No, I narrated it.
Really?
Yes.
Now, what about the character voices?
Well, I did my best to make it seem individual to the characters. But of course, my voice isn't going to sound exactly like a guy's voice.
Yeah, you're not going to sound like Baldwin.
No. But I can put the emotion behind it.
Yeah. As
an actress, I know how to get into those characters, and I know them better than most people would know them. And their motivations. So I hope that comes through.
I'm glad you did that because, like I said, a lot of people, especially traditional publishing, they got to wait, and they're always told that it's going to cost, basically it's going to cost an arm and a leg. but a lot of people don't think about doing it themselves.
Yeah.
And it makes a big difference. You need a microphone and a computer. That's it. And you can do it. It may take a while, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Do it. And with everything out there today, you can even disguise your voice. You know, be like the customer service voice or something like that.
That's an idea. If I had known how to use AI, maybe I could have said, "Oh, during this part, my voice will sound like Mel Gibson."
Believe it or not, there are things out there to do that. You know, I mean, you could always do that for the prequel that you're writing.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. So explain to everybody. All right. I want to do this two ways, but first, those people listening that love historical fiction, explain to them why they need to purchase this book.
Well, there is a lot of historical fiction out there. There's not a lot for that time period. And we do have people such as Bernard Cornwell, Last Kingdom. He freely admits that he kind of plays free and loose with history.
Yeah.
And that his main focus is his characters, which are not usually or not always the historical character, but somebody who's placed into the historical setting. And I think that's a common approach, I think, for historical fiction. They'll take a little bit of history, but I think if you want to know how modern Europe ended up being what it was and why the people in France speak French and they don't all speak German, because when Francia is invaded by King Charles's stepbrother, Louis the German, it could have gone the other way.
Right.
You can feel comfortable with all the main events that happen in this book being as true to history as absolutely possible, but having it come alive. So I feel like it's history brought to life, or history dramatized. And it's a fascinating journey. I think their story is worth knowing.
Oh, yeah.
And these are great people. And I also feel like Baldwin Ironarm is like the hero that a lot of books don't want anymore. He's definitely a macho hero, but he also loves his Judith. And he's an ideal hero, I think.
Yeah.
And Judith, her story is very touching as she emerges, this beautiful, strong woman, from being a vulnerable child placed in difficult circumstances. And that is the path that a lot of us take.
Mm-hmm. Well, the second question you just answered with that. Because I was going to ask people that don't read historical fiction why they need to buy this, but what you just explained there, I think that's for everybody. And I think that's why they need to buy it. The cover. Who did the cover? Because I love it.
I'm glad you enjoyed the cover. I had someone design it for me, but I was a little bit worried. I felt like it expresses very clearly the beauty and the burden of royalty. And you can see the reflection of the crown, and it shows that it happened over and over. And the majority of the characters in this book are royal. Yeah. And every single one of them experience the beauty and a terrible burden of being in the situation they're in because they're royal. And I think that is universal, even with some of our royals today.
Oh,
or
yeah.
maybe not so much right now, but when I was a kid, King Charles, he married Lady Di because she was basically acceptable to his family, not because he loved her. And it brought some heartache to them. Now he's married to the one he loved all along,
Right.
Camilla. And this story has a lot of those tensions in it, where people are being, Judith's cousin, who is King Lothar, was forced into a marriage, but loves his concubine and wants to dissolve that marriage. We have Judith being pressured in and forced into marriages, or they're at least chosen for her, and she doesn't have a choice. So we see that, and it becomes one of the large themes in the book: the freedom to choose, our relationships, our love, and that's an important theme in the book, along with courage and faith and loyalty. What does loyalty mean? Baldwin is faced with that.
Yeah.
He pledges his loyalty to his king, to protect the king's life with his own, as well as his family. So what happens when he is forced to choose between protecting the king and protecting a member of the king's family from the king?
Because you mentioned before about Judith was 12 when she got married?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, back in those days, yes, a lot of women were married off young. A lot of women and children were taken from their homes, sold into slavery, all kinds of things. And something about your book, and I want you to touch on this. And those of you listening, this is very important. Tell everybody what happens when they purchase the book about the proceeds.
Well, 10% of all the net proceeds of this book will go to a marvelous organization called Our Rescue. It used to be known as Operation Underground Railroad.
Mm-hmm.
They were behind the movie. I'm sorry, it's just gone out of my.
That's okay.
The movie that was
about the trafficking.
About 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, about child trafficking. And it tells the story of this man who starts this organization and devotes his life and is still devoting his life to rescuing children and setting up traps to try to net all these people who are in the business of trafficking children and freeing these children. And so it's an important organization, and I really think it would be wonderful if people would go online and just look up Our Rescue.
ourrescue.org, yeah.
Yeah.
Those of you listening, feel free to go there and make a donation. Actually, purchase the book, The Girl of Many Crowns, because a percentage is going to go there. But then you can also go to ourrescue.com and make ourrescue.org.
Yes.
And make a donation as well, because that's very important. How did you come about finding this nonprofit?
Just through the movie. And that's why I don't know why I can't remember the name.
I know, I can't either. And I never.
Something freedom.
What is it?
I know it had the word freedom in it.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it because I knew if I watched it, I would get so teed off. And it's because I talk to people all the time, a lot on here about human trafficking. And my sister's a flight attendant. They have to be trained on things like that and what to look for. I'm in Baltimore. The port here was one of the biggest ports used for human trafficking. The same with I-95 here. It's just, it's It's sad and scary.
I had the same reservations. I wasn't sure if I could stand to watch it.
Yeah.
I knew it was an important film. So I forced myself to go. And I was surprised at how tastefully, if you can call it tasteful, that their approach was. That it was more about rescuing these children. I mean, you get the feeling of how horrible it would be, but they never show anything that would be too much.
It would that wouldn't trigger a lot of people.
It still does. I mean, it still makes your heart just bleed for them.
Yeah.
You want to do something for them. But there was no graphic depiction of what was being done to these children. So maybe you see a man enter the door and you see the little child's innocent face, and then it goes black and goes to another screen.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And those of you listening, they even got a podcast. I think it's Voices for Freedom. Actually, was that the name of the show? The movie?
Sound of Freedom? No, maybe.
Oh God, I can't remember. Anyways, so they got the podcast. I think
it may be Sound of Freedom.
That may be it. But I'm glad you're doing that. That's I love seeing when authors do that, where a percentage goes to that. And it
wasn't just the little girls who were in that day.
Women too. Women and men. Yeah. I mean, well, you think about it. Back then, you had I don't think I'm wrong here, but I think even a lot of priests were kidding especially when the Vikings would go and raid towns, and they would bring back the priests and put them into slavery. They
may have. I did not encounter any accounts of that, but it could be.
It's just, oh God.
There were slaves, definitely slaves.
Yeah.
And there is a scene in the book where Baldwin Iron Arm is tasked with paying a ransom, because what they would do is they would often, when the Vikings conducted a raid, if there was anyone of any value, they would take them and hold them for huge amounts of ransom.
Yeah. Yep.
And so then the whole kingdom would have to try and pool their money together to try to ransom these people. And one of those is a bishop of one of the main cathedrals there near Paris, outside of Paris. And he also happens to be a cousin of King Charles.
So worth a lot of money.
A lot of money.
Yeah.
A lot
of silver.
Yeah. And when Baldwin enters the Viking encampment, which is being built, and it's huge, who's building it? The slaves that they've taken in all their raids.
Yep. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. All right. So before I get to my last question, which I have no idea what it's going to be, and I don't like to talk about the whole book because I don't want to give the book away. I want people to purchase it. But is there anything else that you would like the listeners to know about this? Besides the fact that
it has a happy ending, unlike some books and historical fiction books. Sometimes you get feeling depressed after reading it. Everybody that I've spoken to feels uplifted, encouraged, inspired, strengthened by their story. And it was a privilege to write about such wonderful people.
Yeah. I love that. All right. So I do something different now. I've been saying that for a while, so technically it's not different now. But I have a list of 100 different questions. Don't worry, Deborah. I'm not going to ask you all 100. I have no idea what the question is going to be. Somehow or another, most of the guests that have come on, whichever question they picked, ended up somehow or another aligning with what we were talking about. So pick a question between 1 and 100. And whatever number you pick, I also want to know why you picked that number.
Okay. I will pick 11 because I have 11 grandchildren.
Yeah, which I find that hard to believe. 11. Those of you listening, you cannot see Deborah. She is the youngest looking grandmother I have seen.
Oh, you're so sweet.
11 grandchildren. Come on. Oh, wow. This technically, in a way, aligns with it because we're talking about history.
I'm sorry. We have a visitor.
Huh? Who's that? Oh, little puppy.
He wanted up.
What's the name?
Max.
Max. How you doing, Max? Max is looking like, wait a minute, who's that talking to me? Hey, Max. Yep. God, I need a dog. All right, number 11. What is something you're still unlearning from your past? That's a hard question.
Unlearning from my past. I'm trying to unlearn, and I wish I had known this when I was raising my kids, because I think I would have been I know I would have been a better mother. I was raised in a strict home, and I was more of an obedient child. I didn't really have a rebellious streak in me. I wanted to please people.
Right.
And unfortunately, I didn't realize as a mother that it's not important to insist that your kids do things right.
Yeah.
Give them a little bit of leeway to make mistakes, because that's how we all learn.
Yes.
That the most important thing is just to make them feel loved no matter what mistake they make. And that I wish I had unlearned, because I had a very strict father earlier.
Yeah.
And I still have to remind myself of that every day. It doesn't matter if we're perfect. It matters that we are loved.
I love that. I was the same way. And it is important because we learn that as we grow up, you learn from your mistakes.
Absolutely.
But for some reason, we don't want to we don't tell our kids that. And, we correct them right away if they make a mistake. Let them learn from it.
We're afraid they'll grow up to be serial killers if we don't.
Yeah. God. All right. So tell everybody where they can find the book. And
it's available in ebook and Audible and paperback through Amazon. You can also find it on all the major venues, Barnes & Noble, Apple Books, things like that.
And if somebody wants to get a book published with you, how do they get in contact with you?
Well, we are currently not moving forward with that until after I do this next book.
Oh, okay. So that means when you come on for the second book, then you'll start doing that.
Yes.
I knew that. I was just testing you. Deborah, I want to thank you so much. Those of you listening, again, purchase The Girl of Many Crowns. Make sure you leave a full review after you read it. And then after you read it, keep the book because you'll probably read it again, and purchase a copy or several copies for other people that you think would be interested. Deborah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich. It's been a delight.
Thank you for listening to Conversations with Rich Bennett. I hope you enjoyed today's episode and learned something from it as I did. If you'd like to hear more conversations like this, Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you have a moment, I'd love it if you could leave a review. It helps us reach more listeners and share more incredible stories. Don't forget to connect with us on social media or visit our website at conversationswithrichbennett.com for updates, giveaways, and more. Until next time, take care, be kind, and keep the conversations going. You know, it takes a lot to put a podcast together, and my sponsors help out a lot, but I also have some supporters that actually help me when it comes to the editing software, the hosting, and so forth. There's a lot that goes into putting this together. So I want to thank them. And if you can, please visit their websites, visit their businesses, support them however you can. So please visit the following: Real Life Prosthetics, cutting edge solutions, restoring ability since 2001. Go to reallifeprosthetics.com. Full Circle Boards. Nobody does charcuterie like Full Circle Boards. Visit them at fullcircleboards.com. Sincerely Sawyer Photography. Live in the moment. They'll capture it. Visit them at sincerelysawyer.com.